We feel an natural obligation to give back to someone in the same form that they first give something to us. Essentially, don't take something without giving something in return. Someone passes you in the hallway, for instance, and says hello, you say hello back. It's just natural. You feel that obligation to respond to them, and if you don't, you feel kind of uncomfortable, out of balance. That's the law of reciprocity. And there's not a culture in the world that doesn't have that law of reciprocity. There's probably some way in which that is a survival benefit to us. But the interesting thing is that psychologists have actually been able to look at that in real life situations and quantify it and measure it. For example, those little labels you get in the mail with a request for a donation of some kind. It seems innocent enough, but you get it, and it triggers this law of reciprocity. You think, well, I can't send them back. It's got my name and address on it, no good to anybody else. But then if you use them, you feel an obligation to do something in return. Those little labels, they just probably cost 9 cents or so for a sheet of those labels that you get. But they find that if they include those or something like that in a letter, the response rate goes up. It goes from 18% to 35%. It almost doubles the return for the charities that use those. Another example, there was a religious group called the Hare Krishna group. And back in the 60s, they were desperate for funds. They couldn't get donations from Americans because people didn't understand exactly who they were or what they represented. And so they came up with the idea of having their representatives come up to people in public places, mostly airports. And they would give them a free gift, a flower on their lapel or a book or something. And then after the person had received it, ask for a donation if they would choose to do so. People were caught in this law of reciprocity. They didn't understand the Hare Krishnas. They didn't necessarily agree with them. They didn't necessarily want the gift that they had been given. But they gave anyway because of this law of reciprocity.
Don't you think Tom did an excellent job in talking about the law of reciprocity, in that every culture of the world teaches their children from a very young age that we just simply can't accept without giving. I've done a little experiment myself. In my gym where I work out, I'll frequently, as most people do, spend a little time between sets at the water fountain. And so, conducting my own little experiment, I'll be getting a drink of water and I'll see someone standing behind me. And when I finish getting my drink of water, I'll turn to them playfully and just say, "This round's on me." And I've probably done that now. I was counting up to 40. I think I'm probably north, this is a guess, of 50 times I've turned to someone and said, "Hey, this round's on me. I'm buying this one." 100% of the time so far, every single person has had a knee-jerk reaction where they simply have responded to me immediately. And I bet you're already thinking this because it's what you would say. "I'll get the next one." 100% of the, I'll get the next one. 100% of the time. The law of reciprocity, even in a role play, even in a playful exchange, kicks in and they say, "Okay, you're getting this one, the free drink of water at the fountain. I'm going to get the next one." Same thing. You get invited to come to someone's house for dinner. The way I was raised, probably the way you were raised, is you can't show up empty-handed to someone's house for dinner. You have to bring some flowers for the table, or you have to bring an appropriate bottle of wine for what's being served, or maybe a proper dessert to top off the meal. But you simply can't show up empty-handed. Suitors oftentimes, right, are known to bring flowers, candies, okay, as they're picking up their date for the evening. The law of reciprocity, right? Or the oldest one in the book is, can I buy you a drink? You know what that's all about, right? This is going to have you commit to spending 5 or 10 minutes with me, however long it takes you to have your drink, to be able to have an opportunity to get a little better acquainted. You're buying into that when you say, well, sure, you know, I'll gladly accept your drink. Tom talked about it with the mailing labels, which is intriguing. Charities figured out that if they send a return mailing label customized with your name and address, and they send that to you to a list that's cherry-picked as potential donors, people that believe in their cause, that when they formally got an 18% response to that very same list, if they just simply send the mailing labels, that they now see a 35% change, a 35% response, almost a doubling, as you heard him say. But let's unpack that a little bit. The mailing labels themselves cost 9 cents. What do you want to bet? That nobody who sent a check for a donation for 9 cents. Again, you're likely to give in a manner that is substantially more than what you've received. It's why it's profitable for you as a business to offer a free gift in our Goodwill gift package, because you can't outgive the social dynamic, the social norms that come with the law of reciprocity. Tom further made the point for us of the Hare Krishnas. I thought that was fascinating. That the Hare Krishnas were in deep financial straits. And so they put the law of reciprocity to work with their gift of a flower or a little book or what may have you. But what's interesting about that, I think, is that the people that received the gift, as Tom said, didn't maybe even particularly want the gift. They didn't maybe even understand the Christians. They didn't want to carry with them the flower, as an example, that denoted the fact that they were a supporter of a cause that they didn't understand, or maybe that their belief system would quarrel with. Okay? But yet, they still reached into their pocket and they donated. Why did they donate? They donated, and the researchers that observed the experiment said a lot of times it was painful. They're like, and they're reaching in to donate. But they donated because they had to donate. They must donate because you can't receive a simple flower, okay, a little booklet, okay, without reciprocating, without responding in kind. Warning, okay. The Hare Krishnas learned a very harsh lesson. And the harsh lesson is that although this worked fabulously out of the gate, they generated $11 million virtually overnight, okay, which was quite a boom for the coffers of the Hare Krishnas. But here's what happened. The people that would frequent the airports and bus stations, primarily the airports that they were staked out at, when they saw the Hare Krishnas coming, they would what? They would avoid them. They would walk around them. They wouldn't allow them to get close, because if they got close, I'm going to get that flower, and then I'm going to have to dig into my pocket. I'm going to get that book, and then I'm going to have to reciprocate. Okay, so they would just simply give them a wide berth. Those that received the gift, it was noticed, they would actually take it off at their very first opportunity, and they would throw it in the trash bins, sometimes 25 feet from where it was affixed on, and they donated. You know, they bought the flower, took it off and threw it away within 25 feet of where the donation took place. They didn't want to be seen as an advocate for the Hare Krishnas. In fact, the Hare Krishnas would send people to go collect the flowers at the trash bins and recycle them and sell them again, okay, as a gift to another passerby. But the strong warning is that you have to be careful with the law of reciprocity, that it must be used ethically. It must be used in a way that is in the best interest of your prospect, in the best interest of the resident who's receiving the Goodwill gift package, because once they receive that, you're going to engage them. You're going to engage them at a psychological level that your marketing heretofore has not engaged them. It's a delicate area. It's highly important at that point that you nurture that relationship, that you exceed expectations, that you give them what they're looking for, maybe even as we talk about the baker's dozen, a little more, and then lock them down as a permanent, ongoing customer.